Namaskar, welcome to the day two of Indie Global Waste Management Summit. We had an amazing day one with inaugural session with participation from policymakers from the Government of India, several state governments, and the bodies and organizations like Pollution Control Board, and also the municipal corporation, municipal administration, and urban development department. Indie Global Waste Management Summit has been supported by Ministry of Jal Shakti, Government of India, Ministry of Environment, Government of India, and several state governments, including Government of Telangana, Government of Andhra Pradesh, Government of Assam, Government of Karnataka, and several other institutions that are directly related to the waste management, sustainability ecosystem, and also EPR and several corporates that are involved with the sustainability. And today we are at the day two, and the idea behind hosting this important Waste Indie Global Waste Management Summit. As we all know, India is going leaps and bounds and is considered the seventh largest economy. And as mentioned and announced by our Honorable Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi, that soon we are going to be among the top three economy. At the same time, there is one important aspect that we all need to look up to is striking a balance between the growth and also the environment sustainability. So this subject, picking up entire designing this entire summit around sustainability, waste management, and environment has been very crucial in this context of our growth in India and beyond. So we are in the day two, and a very important session that we would be opening for the day two is the extended producers responsibility implementation and challenges, and we'll be touching upon the responsibility of manufacturers, importer, producer, and brand owners, environmentally sound disposal of plastic and e-waste. And to do the honors, we have an amazing line of speakers for this particular session. This session would be moderated by Mr. Akshay Rath, who is the CEO and co-founder for EcoX. And please join me in welcoming Mr. Akshay Rath.
Namaste and good morning, Mr. Sudhir, and good morning, audience.
Welcome, Mr. Akshay. We are also joined by a well-known environmentalist by heart and a senior officer from Telangana State Pollution Control Board, Dr. W.G. Prasanna Kumar, senior social scientist with the Telangana State Pollution Control Board.
Namaskar, Suprabhatam. Thank you,
Suprabhat,
Sudhir.
thanks for joining us. We are also joined by a speaker all the way from Australia. We'll get to hear from him about the various initiatives that are being taken up in Australia and the kind of collaborations that are happening with the industry and the local government is involving this particular university and their research and taking the same solution to the industry. Please join me in welcoming Professor Wahidul Biswas, Associate Professor and Deputy Director of Sustainable Engineering Group, Curtin University from Australia. Welcome, Mr. Biswas. Thanks for joining us.
Namaste. Good morning.
Good morning. We are also joined by Dr. Brajesh Dubey, Professor, Department of Civil Engineering, IIT Kharagpur, Kolkata, West Bengal. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Brajesh Dubey. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. We are also joined by yet another representative from the corporate side who will be talking about the corporate social responsibility and the EPR, how the work or the responsibility is taken up by the corporates in regards to EPR. Please join me in welcoming Shri Sandeep Chandra, who is the Chief Sustainable Officer with the Tech Mahindra. Welcome, Mr. Sandeep.
Thank you, Sudhir, and pleasure being here. Pleasure being in this August audience, please.
Wonderful. And we will also be joined by Shri J.C. Babu, the Regional Director, Bengaluru Office with the Central Pollution Control Board, Ministry of Environment and Forest, and government with the Government of India. Further, we're also joined by our special speaker from the state of Andhra Pradesh, Shri Prasad Rao, who's the environmental engineer with the AP Pollution Control Board. Thank you very much, Mr. Prasad, for joining us. Welcome.
Very good morning, sir.
Thank you very much.
I'm Prasad Rao.
Yes, sir. Just a moment, sir. Yes, sir. So, with this, I would like to hand over this session to Mr. Akshay Rath, who is the CEO and co-founder for EcoX, to moderate the session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Sudhir, for an introduction for the panelists. And before I start giving questions to my panelists, I'll just sum up for the people who are new to EPR or Plastic Waste Management System in India, to give them the basics and set up the tone for panelists to answer few of the very, very interesting questions which needs in-depth understanding, and look forward to get the insights from each of the eminent panelists. EPR, the abbreviation, Extended Producer Responsibility, is basically a framework under Plastic Waste Management Rule 2016, which mandates all the producer who is producing plastic packaging, importers importing plastic packaging, or importing goods which are wrapped or packaged with plastic packaging, and brand owners who are using plastic packaging to package their products and sell to consumers and creating consumer waste, are supposed to collect back the quality and quantity of plastic they are introducing to the market and recycle them if they are recyclable, or incinerate them if they are non-recyclable, and they define organizations or entities such as waste-to-energy plants, cement plant, waste-to-oil plants, and road construction industries. That is, in a nutshell, is a mandate from the government, which government also says, if violated by any of these entities, will be penalized as an environmental compensation of 5,000 rupees per ton as a first offense, and has further impacts in terms if they are repeatedly violating for coming years. So it started in 2016 till 2019. I don't think there was much of activities happening in that. But after government took an action in terms of creating an online portal to collect and register all the entities, primarily divided into two parts. Part one is called PIBO, or normally what we call as PIBO. And part two is called PWPs, that is Plastic Waste Processor, as I said. They are cement plant, recyclers, waste-to-energy, waste-to-oil, and road construction companies. These all entities are required to get registered in CPCB portal. And while registering, they are supposed to give a lot of inputs in terms of the procurement, in terms of their sales, in terms of what kind of products they are processing. These are the interesting questions which will, in nitty-gritty, will be answered by panelists. So having said that, in last 1 year, there have been accelerated activities happened in the portal. And today, if you look at the dashboard of Pollution Control Board, Central Pollution Control Board, it has more than 34,000 entities who are registered in different categories. And interesting to note that almost 25,000 are importers who have already registered in the portal. And if you look at the numbers, vis-a-vis last year, 10.2 lakh tons of waste listed in CPCB dashboard. Today we are almost at 32 point odd, that is 3.2 million odd plastic waste, which data points already been captured from those 33,000 odd registered entities in the CPCB. So, to start the discussion, my first question, which is very generic, and would like each of the panelists to take 2 minutes and give their inputs. May not be Dr. Biswas, Professor Biswas, probably I'll take up the second question, but other than Professor Biswas, the question is open to all the panelists. Please elaborate on the EPR framework of the Government of India from MoE FCC and monitored by CPCB and the underlying objective of the same. Do you think this is one of the best systems to handle maintenance of all kind of waste in a country like India? Over to the panelists. Let us start with Dr. Prasanna first.
Namaskar. This extended producer responsibility framework comes from the context of the expectation of the citizen of extended governmental responsibility and inability of the government systems to handle the plethora and complexity of the wastes that are generated, especially in the context of the plastics, which are two types, thermoplastics and thermosets. Thermoplastics are those which are which we see in PETs, in polypropylene, in HDP, high density polyethylene, LDP, low density polyethylene, and such which are basically in our daily use, which are the plastics that we use for packaging and things like that. And second is thermosets are those which are like the sheets which are used for roofing, and those which are not recyclable or not they are one time use. So this extended producer responsibility is towards both types of plastics. The governmental systems are ill-equipped to handle the ever-evolving varieties of products and the waste generated while producing the product or after the product's life cycle is complete. It is in that context that extended producer responsibility is brought in, so that the producer is also liable and also takes the responsibility of the product at the end of life cycle and the waste generated while producing the product and distributing the product. So yes, it is a starting point. It is not the end. Environmental legislation, environmental regulations are always progressive in nature. We do not have the best with us. We have only the best is yet to evolve, and best is always in the process of coming up. Yes.
Thank you very much, Dr. Prasanna. And I think it's a very, very fundamental of plastic you have touched upon. Let's also include the other products which are really a menace in society other than plastic. And the next feedback would request Dr. Dubey to contribute his thinking.
So thank you, Raj. And as Prasanna, Dr. Prasanna mentioned very clearly about the objective of EPR, so I'll not go there. I'll just talk more of as where Dr. Prasanna ended, in terms of like how to potentially make it better. So one thing which, based on my experience of working overseas as well, like when I was in Canada, they had an EPR on electronics. So unless the private players are great, private players will do their job, but the government agencies cannot take their entire hands off. Things does not work that way. Government agencies has to facilitate where all these different private players come together, and then also have to kind of do an oversight. And then oversight should not be just giving fines and other stuff. Oversight also to facilitate the facilitation of the implementation of EPR. Then only it will work. Otherwise, it will not work. See, the private parties, they don't. What is the incentive for them to talk to each other? So you have to somehow bring them on the same table and facilitate that. That part somehow, which I felt in the discussion so far of EPR, we just चलो प्राइवेट पार्टी को दे दिया ना, उसका हेडेक है, हम सिर्फ बीच बीच में चेक कर लेंगे, फाइन दे देंगे, we are, like, we had so many rules and regulations in the country on environmental domain, and many of them we are not able to implement to the spirit of we have to act as a facilitator, which does include all the different stakeholder, and waste is actually the responsibility of the municipalities and ULB. Once the waste is produced, we pay taxes to get to manage the waste. Swachh Bharat mission is there, Swachh Bharat cess was there. So in terms of, I know that ULBs are ill-equipped, but if the ULBs will continue to be ill-equipped, we'll still have the problem. So we do need EPR, but we have to make ULB well equipped as well, both from a hard, like a physical infrastructure, as well as the technology, like a capacity building of workforce. People working there should know what is actually how the waste is changing, how these different packagings are coming. So a lot of training and other things needs to be given to ULB officials at the lower level. Most of the training happens in a 5-star hotel where we just go there for a good food and then we just come out and nothing really translates on the ground. So, and we have to talk in the local language to the local people who are really involved in that on day-to-day basis. So we have to really train them, and because see, plastic, those Lay's potato chips, for example, Pepsi is expert in making Lay's potato chips, but they are not, or the plastic manufacturers, they know how to manufacture plastic. They are not really expert of how to manage plastic waste. So you have to have different players who will manage the plastic waste, but they have to government has to facilitate. When I say government, means different bodies of government has to facilitate the work, and that thinking is coming, but still we are too far. Like we have to bring that, then only it is going to work. That will be better.
Great. I think Dr. Dubey has really touched upon basic fundamental challenges. My voice is clear?
Yeah. Yes.
The basic fundamental challenge and the inputs are well taken. One is, yes, it is not the responsibility of the PIBOs alone. It is also the responsibility of government because they are collecting taxes from us. But think in a broad term, without EPR or before EPR framework is coming to India, could the municipalities, urban local bodies and Gram Panchayats do their job? Could they manage the litter in the towns and cities? Otherwise, Patna would have been flooded. And there is not so much pollution in river and littering happening and all kind of waste getting into the oceans. It would not happen. So that is where probably the government has thought, like many other countries, where the polluters should pay, should be a fundamental approach to generate the funding so that the recyclable waste can enter into a circular economy and the non-recyclable waste can be put in use for better prospects, such as creating some kind of products which has gotten daily use. So yes, very rightly said, capacity building by creating awareness session into all the stakeholders of the entire ecosystem, starting from rag pickers to the kabaddi ballers to the waste traders, balers, and the recyclers. That is where Ecoex as a company has got a tagline, empowering the recyclers. It could be plastic, it could be e-waste, it could be tire, rubber, glass, battery, so on and so forth. The idea is very simple. Idea is, if the municipality is not able to get the recyclable waste, how do you make him accountable? The recyclable waste, or I will define them as a waste which has got a value, commercial value, is being picked up by informal sector. It never comes to the MRF or collection points of municipalities. So how do you account for a municipality to really work on it? If the municipality would get all the recyclable waste of the city or town, municipality would have been one of the richest entities of government. But unfortunately, it is zero. No recyclable waste ever reaches to a municipality. What it gets, that the dump is having no commercial value. That is where it further goes to the landfill, and you get hillocks in cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Calcutta, Chennai. So that is where government has come up with some kind of relaxation after observing and getting feedback from the industry for after 2 years that yes, I think the documentation and the process is a bit complex as enumerated in the PWP 16 under EPR framework, and fundamentally they have given certain relaxations to make it easier for the PIBOs to meet their EPR compliance. Now my question will be to Sri Prasad, because he is from Andhra Pradesh Pollution Control Board. I would really love to request you to answer what kind of user-friendly approaches or aspects or guidelines have been added by government, by CPCB into the portal, so that you would see such a traction happening in CPCB portal. Numbers are now visible, data points are getting captured, and we are in a position where CPCB in various awareness campaigns and different seminars is saying that yes, we are on the right track, and most of the modules of CPCB already live. Over to Mr. Prasad.
For all the participants, sir. I'm T. Prasad Rao, working as an environmental engineer, AP Pollution Control Board. As far as the question, what is the user-friendly approach for implementation of EPR under plastic waste management rules? In order to answer this question, first of all, there is a gap. There is a gap. That means inadequacy of understanding of the rule, particularly important stakeholders. Even though plastic waste management rules have been notified in the year 2016, even now the PIBOs are not aware of different types of plastic waste, category of plastic wastes, and the responsibilities delineated in the plastic waste management rules. So first of all, the first approach should be it should be with the consultation. It should be in the form of consultation, and day to day we have to interact with all the stakeholders, particularly PIBOs. Even though EPR centralized portal has been developed by CPCB, there are many questions that have been posed by the PIBO producer. Even in the EPR portal also, there are many. I think there are these PIBOs are not able to handle, and that means they are not able to fill up the data in the centralized portal. Only the consultants are doing by taking the data, but I feel that the industry, there himself, producers or importers, they must have their dedicated people so that they will have the full understanding of these rules and the data they have to provide in the EPR portal. What is happening is the consultants who are the in between, they are playing the role, but they are not giving the full data. So the online data, what we are now implemented in the Andhra Pradesh State Pollution Control Board, we are implementing the real-time monitoring of the plastic waste management. Is day by day it is getting filled up by the PIBOs. So initially we had a very a difficult position that all the PIBOs have to fill up the data in the portal in the real time. What we are implementing in Andhra Pradesh. In the Google Forms we have developed, and we are asking all the PIBOs to give the data day to day. What is the plastic they are selling, and they have to fill up the data in the Google form. Even now, also only 30% of the PIBOs they are able to fill up the data, and we are case to case. Each one plastic waste, the all the PIBOs we are calling all the peoples to our offices and explaining about the plastic waste management rules and the need to obtain the EPR registration from the centralized CBCB portal. The only user-friendly approach for effective implementation, whereas my opinion is that it should be in a friendly manner, and we are not at present we are not imposing any penalties, but it is a time-taking process. We have to conduct the awareness through our regional offices. At present, it is very difficult, but we are trying to achieve the objective of implementation of EPR.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prasad, for giving us information and steps taken by APC Pollution Control Board in terms of gathering and monitoring to make EPR is a successful program, and whatever is required to be done by State Pollution Control Board, and there's the implementation process, what you are explained in that Google Sheet, the way you are collecting data, so on and so forth. For the benefit of the audience, let me put, there are a couple of relaxation which government has done in terms of making it user friendly. One is, it is not mandatory for the brands to collect only waste of their own brand. It is brand agnostic. The first relaxation. So Coke need not to collect only Coke packaging material. It can also collect Pepsi Bisleri packages as well. It should be packed. Its quality should be packed. Second criteria is, instead of asking for doing EPR for each plastic material such as SDP, LDP, PP, PET, PS, PVC, nylon, government has made them into three categories, apart from the fourth category, which is biodegradable plastic. The category 1 is called rigid plastic, which is basically SDP, PVC, and PET. Category 2 is called flexible, where you can see PS, PP, LDP, that is the milk pouches, normally known to common people. And third is called multi-layer packaging, which is definitely the monster for all of us. That is where is lack of available technologies and the costs involved to collect them, and having no commercial value, the challenges to handle this third category. So now I would set the question for Mr. Channa from Tech Mahindra as a corporate sustainability practitioner to give his view on how his company has geared up and trying to comply the EPR mandate, and what kind of challenges as a environmentally conscious corporate like Tech Mahindra is feeling. But over to you, Mr. Chandra.
Sure, Akshay, and thanks everybody on the panel that whatever insights given, right from Professor Vishwas to Dr. Dubey and Dr. Anshi Rao, it was great insights. I think so. Mr. Rao, you brought it right that the governance mechanisms, even if there's a tool available, how do you move from that 30% to maybe 100%? That is a key challenge where I would see that, if whole of this supply chain has to be, included in the process, how do you make it 100% from that 30% compliance? So this is the first thing that as a country we should really look at, because until the data is available, you cannot take any actions on top of it. So this is very important from our perspective. One thing which I really wanted to highlight was about PROs, that is the middlemen, people who are really working in this field. And today, all of us would agree, and actually especially you, that while the waste is being collected, the waste which could be used is not available or is very rare in the market. I have been speaking to so many other people where they're waiting for the right kind of waste to be available to them, so that either it could be converted into energy or either it could be converted into a usable form, like where methanes could be used, or all those kind of aspects. The right kind of waste is still a big challenge for the industry as such. So PROs could play a very major role. The focus of the government and the cities should be basically making them say that how they can bring in efficiencies, they can improve, and where is it that they could impact the whole channel. Of course, as people also mentioned on the right now, saying that if there is a company which is doing maybe producing chips, they may not be good at manufacturing or looking into the plastics, but at the same point of time, if there could be a way where these plastics could be handled by a PRO or looking into it from that perspective, I think so that would make a lot of impact there. Now, from a company I come from, Tech Mahindra, today very proudly when I speak to you, I lead the world in the form of ESG. You look at any benchmark, Tech Mahindra is rated #1 in the world. So yes means we have taken a lot of steps internally. One is totally no to plastics. Means if anybody enters our campus, they are scanned properly, there's thoroughly no plastics within the campus. If anybody is also carrying a plastic, say even if it's a polythene or something like that, it is replaced by a paper bag and then disposed of in an eco-friendly way there. And one more thing, which I have taken very proudly, is that I'm checking all my locations, and I have taken a target in a public domain saying that all my locations will be zero waste to landfill certified by a third party. So I've already achieved about 60% of my target today. There are about 7 locations, and these are big locations. These locations are around 25,000 people in one office. So you could imagine the kind of waste that could be coming out, whether it is a food waste or whether it is the plastic waste. I've got that assured from a third party saying that these locations would be zero waste to landfill. So from a corporate perspective, we have been taking these steps forward. And last not the least, I think so from a Tech Mahindra's perspective, we have also launched our ESG offerings, where I'm working with my customers to say that if there are some platforms which are needed, if there are some structures which could be needed, to make the processes simple, we're also helping our customers there. So that's 2 minutes from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chandra. And I think the audience as well as my panelists will agree that the great work or the place what you have taken to make your campus plastic free or reducing at least your conscious corporate. And yes, as far as the PRO process is concerned, there is still no clarity in terms of government guidelines because government started appointing PROs in 2018 for 6 months and then all of a sudden they stopped it. So what has happened is the companies which are basically into registering entities for new company formation, sale tax registration, company registration, so on and so forth. All of a sudden, this category of small timers become a PRO kind of, self-acclaimed licensing agents for PIBOs to meet EPR compliance without adequate training or knowledge. And we could see the repercussions of that in CPCB annual report filing, wherein either they have undersold the categories of waste being used as a procurement, plastic packaging procurement from the entities in PIBOs, or they have shown wrong entities based on the market pricing for complying cost. So MLP is costly, so let me not show MLP, I'll show Flexi, and I'll save money on that. So the repercussions and the impact is coming now when they are getting into per annual report filing. Anyway, coming back to the relaxations what the government has sent to sum up. First is brand agnostic for the audience. Second is it is not specifically to a plastic material. You can comply from the category perspective. If you have PVC or SDP, you can buy category 1 certificate and comply. And third, very interesting, available only for 2 years, which 1 year is gone, this year is available, is all the categories can also be incinerated and the certificate can be procured from any entities, a cement plant, waste to energy, waste to oil, or these road construction companies. So that will essentially help government to immediately get out of these hills or hillocks and the landfills and the legacy waste, so that government can plan for the fresh waste what we're generating today. And for you, the number is something like 26,000 metric tons a day. So if we clear the hillocks, and Delhi has got 4 big hillocks. So the clear hillocks and legacy waste, and either we do some kind of bioremediation, we can do them or create RDFs, refuse derivative fuels, or we can use them in AFRs in cement plants, or we can use them as an alternative to bitumen or a supplement to bitumen and lay it on the roads across, for which Transport Ministry has already given guidelines for most of the municipality having population of more than 5 lakhs has to definitely use plastic waste, 10% of the content of bitumen, and for maintenance of that. So similarly, I believe NHA is also working on it, and they will come up with some kind of guidelines or circular very soon. So that is one more relaxation which has made it more user friendly, and most of the brand owners or producer don't need a middleman to help them to comply it. They can directly go to the CPCB portal, see who all are having the available certificates in category 1, 2, 3, connect and buy certificates from them, and get a original paper from with the transaction ID of the transaction done from wallet to wallet, and keep it in for record for audit. It's good enough. So having said that, I think we have kept Professor Biswas in waiting for quite long. I would love to hear from the discussions we had so far on the Indian implementation of plastic EPR framework, vis-a-vis how it is being taken care in your country in Australia, as well as other waste material, how it being disposed ethically there, and what kind of ecosystem you have, and how it is better than, if you feel that, than Indian EPR framework. Because the EPR framework of India, which has taken now almost 6 years, been really appreciated by most of the G20's participating countries, where it was presented to them. I was also one of the proponents, and have been happy to a proposed EPR framework in toto, what has been implemented in India to most of the African and Middle East countries, and also attended a lot of webinars and tenders from the World Bank in countries like Zambia, Mauritius, Maldives, Kenya, Ghana, Nigeria. So we are all working as a company to become a consultant to those countries to implement EPR framework, not only for plastic, for other waste as well. Over to you, Professor Biswas.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you very much, Mr. Akshay Rath. Australia is doing good number of research in the area of extended producer responsibility, and it is a way to achieve a circular economy. And we are working on that is converting different waste to resources. And as you know, that extended producer responsibility it means that the producer, they're not finishing the relationship with the customer after the selling the product. They operate the product, maintain the product, and they then convert it to useful product. So in Australia, we are working on different recycling strategies that will enable convert end-of-life product to a new product, and that will help materialize the concept of environmental, so extended producer responsibility, because we are working on recycling, reusing, recovering, redesigning, remanufacturing of products. So in the design stage, we make sure that all these strategies can be implemented once we have arrived at the end of life stages. In Australia, we have got a very famous research institute, CSIRO, and they're working on 4 areas. Number one is pyrolysis. They're converting plastic waste to petroleum product. Number 2, they're working on that is purification and mechanical treatment, so that different product like LDPE, that is low density polyethylene, high density polyethylene, polyethylene tetrachloride, all these can be converted to new product. Also, but it is very challenging for us to recycle the multi-layer plastic, because they consist of different film, different layers. So still work is going on how to recycle these multi-layer packaging materials. So some strategies has been taken to separate different layers of multi-layer packaging materials, but it has increased the weight of the material, because in order for the layers to be separated, you need to increase the thickness of each layer. So it increased the weight of the multi-layer packaging material. So if it increase the weight of the packaging material, it will increase the transportation emission and etc. So in Western Australia, we are generating electricity from waste. So there are some waste that is challenging, like multi-layer packaging material and other non-recyclable material. So we cannot recycle. What we are doing, we are converting waste to energy, and when you're converting waste to energy, it can help reduce the volume by 90%. So, and the remaining 10% is incinerated bottom ash. So we are using this incinerated bottom. We have got a project from the waste to energy plant. I have got some funding that is allowing us to prove that this incinerated bottom ash can be used in pavement and concrete. So experiment is going on. So other than this, we have got a good number of research and development activities. So we work at Curtin University, we work very closely with the government Department of Water and Environmental Regulation. And we have completed good number of projects where we have converted, we have successfully used recycled tire, recycled glass, recycled construction and demolition waste in concrete. Also, we are working for different recyclers. So we are getting funding from recyclers to where we have successfully used recycled plastic in ram earth in civil construction material. We have used with steel recycler who are recovering steel or rubber from used conveyor belt. So we use that recycled rubber as reinforcement material for concrete. So also we are working on different different recycling strategies. We collaborated with the Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur, with Professor Dubey, and we co-supervised one doctoral student who has done a very outstanding PhD, published 5 papers. And this is one of the new research where we have applied the concept of life cycle assessment to find environmentally friendly waste management strategies that is more suitable for India. So I think we are working with the industries. We are getting from the government department funding, from the government department, recyclers, industries, and we are collaborating with other countries, other institutions. So these activities are going quite well in Australia. Thank you.
Great. I think thank you very much, Professor Biswal, to make us aware, terms of activities, policies, guidelines, and research been taken by Australian entities for keeping it plastic free. So I understand. I don't think whether I'm correct or wrong. This EPR framework started something in 1996 in Australia, Professor Biswas?
This is not on the top of my head. I cannot remember. So
Okay.
that's
Fine. That's okay. So in fact, day for yesterday, I had fortunate to be part of as a speaker, as a panelist in JNU, wherein we had almost 10 different professors from various institutes, including IITs, IIMs, and JNU's own dean, professor, and vice chancellor. And we had a very good session. But I found whenever we are talking about environment, we are talking about environmental impact, SDG goals, we are talking about COP 26, 27, 28. I think more or less most of us are slipped to plastic, because that looks like one of the pervading every one of each one of us. And also we are more concerned that as an individual, how do also we contribute to help the country to become, I'll not say plastic free, obviously it will be reverse of that. We can use as much plastic as we can, but definitely we should be consciously recycle them and optimize them so that they do not litter around in your cities and towns, drains, so on and so forth. Having said that, I would come back to Dr. Prasanna. I think he has been silent for quite some time. Sir, this sounds little tricky question, but I think also anybody can volunteer, you can answer it. First, we wanted the PIBOs who need to comply their EPR obligation to collect, then recycle or incinerate. But with that, we said you will have to also submit the collection proof, the documentary evidence where from you have collected, how did you transported it, who recycled it, and what the recycler name. So all put together, the traceability document become at 10 pages, 14 pages. And there are 10 or 14 entities who give the certificate, including a municipality endorsement. The municipality which doesn't get the waste. That is the earlier process. Now the new process says you don't have to do all this. PWPs has to put in their procurement invoices. They will have to upload their sales invoices. They will generate online certificates in their wallet, and those certificates will be transferred to the PIBO's wallet to comply. So, do you think, in one hand, we are reducing the workload or documentation part, making it easier for meeting the compliance? On the other hand, we are making it so easy that we are not keeping a tag on whether really the material are physically moving from a place to place. Are they really getting processed, or there are fake invoices getting generated, uploaded to generate certificate and selling EPR certificate? If that is the case, I would really like to get your feedback first. And as a practitioner, I will go to Mr. Prasad from Pollution Control Board, because he is an environmental engineer who has done the physical inspection to allow a register CPCB in the CPCB portal for the entities he inspects in Andhra Pradesh. So these two feedbacks will really be very interesting to listen from you for the audience perspective. Over to you, Dr. Prasanna.
Thank you very much, Akshayji. Actually, what happens is for regulation to start, we need to have enumeration. So enumeration is a starting point where the producers or importers or the brand organizations, they register, they share their information. Initially, we may not be able to get the best of the information. So for that, we need to do facilitation. So even Central Pollution Control Board is looking at facilitating the generation of certificates, EPR certificates. And we also need to streamline the annual report filing. See, and for this, we need to have the empaneled auditors, and these empaneled auditors need to be trained. And we need to have workshops with the plastic waste producers and plastic waste handlers and the organizations, branding organizations. So, see, point is, where do we start with? We start with first enumeration, registration. The quality of the information which is initially given to any pollution control board or any regulatory agency will be limited by the quality of the person who is giving the information, or the capacity of the person or the institution which is giving the information. So they are also learning. See, as I shared in the beginning, a regulatory regime is always progressive in nature. All law, 100% of any law cannot be implemented on the day one. So initially, we will get the enumerations in the number of producers, number of importers, and number of brand organizations which are actually responsible for the plastic waste or plastic product produce itself. This number is huge, and the number which is registered is very, very small. It is not even 10%. So first, we need to get them to register. In the process, as you mentioned very clearly, the quality of information will not be of a very high, will not be of very good quality, which can be used immediately. But then it is a starting point. Eventually, there will be people who will be able to support the organizations in filling the right kind of data, in handling the right kind of equipment, or in handling the right exchanger for their waste. So yes, you are right. The initial quality of information is definitely not that which can be called as very good data.
Over to you, Prasad Garu, if you can add anything to it.
With regard to the quality of information, what we are getting, even now with the implementation of EPR, all the PIBOs, most of the important brand owners, they are having some knowledge. But with regard to the small units in the sense that most of the plastic waste handling the recycling units, recyclers, you can say authorized recyclers, but they are not having the understanding what the things they have to maintain with regard to the records, and there is some training has to be imparted to the small units. Even though there are some branded brand owners like Coca-Cola, Bisleri, and like that, they are having dedicated people and they are having the knowledge about the EPR, how to generate EPR certificates and what is the target has to be given in the EPR portal, and what kind of PROs have to be engaged, and how these EPR certificates has to be bought from the concerned producers or importers, like that. But most of the, I think 80% of the people are not having the knowledge. So
Right.
now we are importing this about the EPR portal, and the small people are having the difficulties.
Fine. I think it's a very, very practical input as a practitioner working on the field, visiting entities and inspecting their premises. Mr. Prasad has got real hands-on experience of educating us into the challenges what they're facing in their pollution control board member. Now I think I am left with only less than 2 minutes. So I'll ask Dr. Dubey if any research thing done or likely to be done by IIT Kharagpur in this space. You can take a minute and make us aware of it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, as Professor Viswas also mentioned, we looked at several smart cities, 6 smart cities in India, from the first list, and had a detailed study of how the waste is presently being managed and how to really make it as a smart city waste management practices, taking a LCA approach, like a life cycle assessment approach. See, when we talk about plastic versus paper, we moved to plastic because paper was bad for the environment, if you remember. So are we really moving back to this paper, which is really good for environment, with when you have the plastic liner also there inside in most of the packaging? So those kind of research we are doing over at IIT Kharagpur, along with the Professor Viswas at Curtin and also some other collaborators in India, also abroad. So looking at more of a systems approach. See, when we talk about, right now we are making plastic as a bad villain. Tomorrow some other thing will become a bad villain. And even when we are talking about usage in different application, say cement, like using in road, we know the regulation, but still it is not being done. Why? Because plastic is dirty. What you are getting is a very dirty plastic from like from the dump sites, or even in the fresh waste also, you are getting dirty plastic. Dirty plastic you have to clean. Now cleaning requires water. Water has also water footprint. So that the water, when you clean it, the wastewater, how you will clean that wastewater? You have to set up a wastewater treatment plant. If you just leave it like that, you are not really solving the problem. You are shifting the problem. So even all these biomining that is happening, we are also working in that area with IIT Delhi on that. Is it really making a point source pollution to a non-point source pollution? We are diluting taking that biomine waste, not doing any due diligence in terms of what is in there, and separating it all across the country. Tomorrow that may become a problem. You will have your surface water getting contaminations and all that. So there has to be a lot of science and policy has to go hand in hand. Unfortunately, that does not happen. And as you mentioned, that we also, at Prasannaji mentioned another, like we also are seeing a lot of bad data out there, first data out there. And last sentence, I will say that bad data is actually worse than having no data.
Correct.
So,
Thank you very much. I think we're running out of time. Yeah. Some concluding remark from Mr. Chandana.
Yeah, I think so. The last point which Dr. Dubey mentioned, I think so that is the area we all need to focus is to get the data right. So that is my last concluding remark, and I think so all focus, because as I said in start itself, until you have a right data, you cannot take any decisions. Means we are speaking so much about AI. AI will only come or will get implemented if the data is correct. Means otherwise, all decision makers will be running haywire because the decisions would be wrong. Thanks,
So,
everyone.
I would have loved really to moderate such a great panel, but unfortunately we have given 1 hour time, so we have to complete this. And I think I will give it over to Mr. Sudhir if he's there. Mr. Sudhir, do you have time for any question answer session?
Yes, sir. If there is, I think there are concluding remarks have been taken from all. However, I see there is a question. Is there a question among panelists? Anything, sir? Prasanna, sir, or other speakers? If you have any questions to put in, or just a moment. There's a question from the audience. Let me check.
That's a sign of good that people have understood, so they don't have a question.
So there are certain comments that have poured in. That is, government does hand holding to private companies. EPR implementation will be easy. What do you have to say? Any speaker can take this question.
Definitely, I think that is what is being done. The handhold support is definitely given by CPCB. In fact, making the portal ready and then keeping people informed, and also training people, going around doing the workshops, orienting the pollution control boards, orienting the producers, importers, and being not on the day one on looking for 100% compliance, but looking at progressive implementation of the regulation. All these indicate that definitely we are the government is in a facilitation mode, and it will facilitate, and it will take a while. We also have the legacy waste that has to be handled. So that's why for the legacy waste, incineration is straight away accepted, though that may not be the best possible way. So yes, government has to facilitate and will facilitate and has been facilitating.
So there are other two questions. I'll just read it out in one go. One is, the biggest challenge is providing knowledge to recyclers on the rules of EPR. The second question is from Mr. Raj. A marriage between science and policy for proper implementation of EPR is important. Anyone would like to respond to this?
Second is more of a comment. Yes, policy and science have to definitely marry and should have very good children.
Well said. Well said.
On that note, we'll conclude this session with the smiles. A wonderful panel, I would say, a wonderful mix, academy, corporate, and also the man on the ground, and also the policymakers from two states at the same time. Man who is facilitating this EPR and other waste management activities on ground from the industry. So, as a token of appreciation to all our esteemed speakers, we would like to present this appreciation certificate. First, we shall go ahead with our senior scientist, the Telangana State Pollution Control Board, Dr. W.G. Prasanna Kumar. Thank you, sir, for joining us and sharing these views and the latest policy updates here over here.
Thank you very much, Sudhir.
We'll move on to our speaker from the Andhra Pradesh state government, Mr. Prasad Rao. Thank you very much, Mr. Prasad, for joining us and sharing the activities and initiatives by the AP Pollution Control Board.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next up, I would like to call upon our speaker from IIT Kharagpur, Dr. Brajesh Dubey. Thank you very much, Dr. Brajesh, for your insights that were enriching. Next, we'll move on to our esteemed speaker who has joined us from Australia, Curtin University, Professor Wahidul Viswas, Associate Professor and Deputy Director of Sustainable Engineering Group. Thank you very much, Mr. Viswas, for sharing your insights and your time. And we will move on to our speaker from the corporate side, Mr. Sandeep Channa, Chief Sustainability Officer with the Tech Mahindra. Thank you very much, Mr. Sandeep, for sharing your insights and initiatives. And also to our wonderful moderator who could bring in all the aspects of EPR in a holistic approach, to Mr. Akshay Rath, CEO and co-founder for EcoX. This will be a tone setting for our upcoming summit that we will be hosting soon with several state governments, and we will be approaching all you stakeholders to have a much powerful and much collaborative and a point where we can take things further ahead so that we can see the implementation on ground. We would be getting back to you for a physical summit that will be hosting soon in a few months down the line. So thank you very much, everyone. All the audience who have joined us from across the country and all the esteemed speakers as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Our next session on corporate social responsibility in waste management, where we'll see policymakers and several stakeholders from the waste management ecosystem joining us. See you there in the next session. Thank you.